Hey guys, and welcome back to another Broken No Game video. Today's video is going to be about Jormungandr and pretty much my thoughts on it and a way to do it. Now this walkthrough isn't really a guide to it because what I'm doing isn't possible for most players, I would say. Jormungandr is definitely like a future event, but anyways, let's jump into it. So the first thing that you want to do on stage 1 is you essentially want to eliminate one ghost or leave only one ghost on the stage so that everyone can start jumping in. You can see here like Breezy jumped in, JoloDawg jumped in, and ideally you use this stage as a prep stage. You would use this to summon library or summon tricky wisp or some sort of summon that can start giving you buffs. For example, Fina can give you attack buffs. I say library and tricky wisp because they provide defense buffs. Pretty much any summon that can provide buffs to your team. And then now we have everyone here. We have Mooie and Wuxia. Ideally, you run this with a full Snow White team. That way you deal more damage or deal more heals. For example, if you run Snow White Cleric, she will deal more heals because her staffs will be increased in effectiveness. You'll see it at the beginning of the stage. It's like the same concept as in story, where when you use a certain character, they will be right up. So for this, on the second stage, you'll notice that we completely decimated the wolf. We did this strat wrong, because in the first couple of runs, we didn't know what we were technically doing. What you're supposed to do is kill the wolf, and then kill the orc, and then leave the plant, so you can essentially farm SP back, right? Ideally, you're actually not stingy with your SP. Make sure you're dealing enough damage, because if you're stingy with your SP and you try to save, you should be killing the actual ads or the monsters, what have you, because they will hit you and they will kill you, right? So for this, we should have aimed for one particular snake. We shouldn't have been bursting down each snake that quickly. And the reason why you want to kill one snake in particular is so you can lower their DPS very quickly, because when they both hit, they have a very high trigger of killing someone. You can see someone almost died, and we want to avoid that, right? You want it so that every single team member is up when you're fighting this boss. Now the biggest thing is that you'll see here we do the library wisp technically a little bit late, because we should have been buffing up in the beginning, like I said. But it's fine, this is the process for figuring out this boss, is getting the timing right. It's not even about what you bring, it's about who is present and when you time certain buffs. And this is where the game actually becomes important. And you'll see here we casted Lindwurm, and this is probably the most important part of the fight, is once it gets to yellow, you decimate his HP bar so he doesn't cast the debuff, the AoE debuff that will strip all of your buffs. Because you want to keep all of your buffs, right? Because if you keep all your buffs, you have more defenses, and technically you hit harder. Technically he is also squishier because he's been debuffed, so on and so forth. You want Lindwurm so you can burst him down like crazy. You can see we chunked him for a bar, almost 2 bars, a bar and a half. And of course I know this strategy isn't available to anyone. That's why I'm saying it's a walkthrough, right? You can try. Know that we are running verse 2, right? We are running verse 2, and this isn't exactly something that I will say everyone can achieve, but you can run the nature version of Lindwurm, whatever. I will probably post a screenshot of what that nightmare looks like on the side. But you can see here we accomplished it a couple times, 97, 76, 80, 90. That's what everyone's gear scores or point values, right? So that's we were doing really good. So I was refreshing Twilight Crystals, and I was all right, let me jump back in, and we're gonna use Snow White this time, but we're gonna do verse 3. And I was oh, I made a mistake, I ran Pinocchio instead because I'm a fool. So now I wanted to quit because I was oh no, I want to use Snow White instead, but they're no, it's fine, we'll just jump in, and everyone jumped in with their Snow Whites, right? And this time we do the strategy right. We're killing the ghosties, we're waiting for people to pretty much jump in slowly. And I am on Discord pretty much communicating with everyone, calling plays or what have you. It's pretty interesting, this process, because technically, not a lot of mobile gacha games require any strategy whatsoever, kinda. Usually, yes, we are using our wallets by having Lindwurm, but at the same time, we are coordinating in the sense of, hey, use these summons, because you can only use, each person is allowed to use 1 summon per fight. So if you have 5 people, you get 5 summons. If you have 4 people, you only have 4 summons. So ideally, you have 5 people, so you can run 5 different summons. Ideally, be like Library or Tricky Whisk, so you get the defense buff like I said earlier, Fina, and then you run the Fairy at some point. Usually you run it during the Snake. Fairy is the SP one, yes, another paid nightmare. And then you run Lindwurm. So ideally, you have like those 4, but it doesn't really matter if you have those. The biggest thing is you have at least Fina in the beginning to do attack buffs, and then you have like some sort of Lindwurm, Nature Wisp, or Nature Nightmare that can pretty much deal damage. And you can see here, like, we buffed up, we're like perfect, we're raring to go. We kill the wolf, we kill the orc, like everything's like falling into line on verse 3, and we're like, man, I feel like we got this, like it's gonna be okay. We're missing our 5th person, so we're like, it'll be fine, like someone will jump in, because you know we're all in Discord, what have you. And it feels good, right? Even though I'm running Pinocchio, everything feels fine. And now right here we're like waiting. It also felt like the hardest difficulty refilled stamina or SP faster. I'm not sure why it felt like that, but it just did. Maybe our timing was better. Also, you panic lifesteal, so I had a bunch of lifesteal weapons, right? So make sure you time your lifesteal weapons so that you can regain HP during certain moments where your healer's, not able to heal you at that time. And it's like a weird thing because all of us are technically DPS and we don't have a support, and we have like this weird bot support that's kind of useless. But you can see here, like we're pretty much like very SP friendly. And then finally here we're on the snakes, and we're like, okay, this should be fine. Like Sage pops in, and we're like, all right, we're doing decent damage, like 12k, 10k hits, right? And everyone's doing fine. But the problem is right here is we're not aiming for one particular snake. Everyone's like hitting whatever snake they want, and this is in verse 3. So watch what happens and look at how much these snakes hit for. Bop bop. They hit us for 8 and then 7k respectively. That is a crap ton of, that's like 15, like 14, 13k damage. And we were just like, holy crap, like we're not even gonna try that again. But I'm pretty sure like if I ran this with the guys again and we aim for a particular snake, we would have been fine as long as we killed that snake at the initial verse, like, as soon as we start that phase, because we got technically both snakes down to half. We'll probably try that later. Now we go back to verse 2, because that's where we're at. And by the way, this strat can transfer to verse 1, and you don't have to have as high like point values. Ideally, you just have a group of people. I do have Discords down below. And if you want to like co-op with us, feel free to join our Discord down below. It'll be in the description. We share friend codes and everything and all that jazz. But you don't have to join, like, you can join any Discord. Like, you can join like the official, the fan-made, like Elite Gaming Discord. I have them all down below. So if you want to like join up, party with people, ideally you join a Discord or you go on someone's Switch, something like that, so you can communicate with people, right? You can see here that, we are pretty much coordinating our attacks and everything's working out. We killed a wolf, now we're aiming for orc. Everything is falling into place, and this is how we're doing it. Library Wisp is up. Also, Fina buff will be coming up as well. So this is technically, the cookie cutter run. I don't want to edit out like a bad run or anything, because we learn from our mistakes. And if we can improve on our mistakes here, we can get better over time. But you can see here, like, we had a lot of mistakes going onto the road because of, all the... You get a Twilight Crystal per win. So technically, each win matters because you get a crystal, which is really good, right? But at the same time, know that the drop rates for this boss is like, or this nightmare is extremely low on verse 1 and 2. I think verse 1 and 2, it's like a 1 or 3% chance. 1% chance respectively for verse 1. Verse 2 respectively, like 3% chance, and the last one is like 5%, but you're guaranteed on the last one, so it's not a big deal. Anyways, it's just a stat stick. Jormungandr is like a stat stick, a trophy. And you can see here we're focusing one particular snake now. Pretty much we have our rhythm down. That's what I like to call it. Like there's like a synergy that you build with your team, and you're like, turn 1, turn 2, or turn 1 everyone shows up. Turn 2, we should start buffing everyone. And then on snake phase, we aim for a snake, and we start using fairy buff so that as soon as we jump into either Jormungandr or at the tail end of the snakes, we can spam skills. Because you know, Jormungandr, one of the hardest things is having enough SP to burst this man down. So, you know, right here, we're still fine. Like, the biggest thing is that you have enough SP so you can spam skills, right? You can spam skills, have like those life steals, just in case in the back, in case you're about to die, right? So you can, just in case your cleric dies or whatever, you can still heal yourself or someone else needs heals. And then you'll notice here, we're at the brink of the green, and I'm going to summon the Lindwurms, right? The Lindwurms is coming, he's right there. And because we timed it so closely, this one was like a little scary for us because technically, like if we we got stripped, right? Because I missed the timing for Lindwurm, we still got stripped. Luckily, like the buff still went off and we had enough like weapons to mitigate him and burst him down. But the thing is you see this, like I ran out of nature grid weapons, like everyone hits for a lot less. Granted, we're still hitting for like a lot of damage, but the issue is like, you know, we could have timed that better, it could have been smoother. And don't worry if you like get like the connection, like, you know, came off or whatever, you can still join back in and it'll be perfectly fine. It happens once in a while and it's not a big deal. Just don't think like it's the end of the world. But watch here, like we don't get any drops whatsoever and feels pretty bad, right? Feels pretty bad. But we have one more run left into us, so just know that if there's like a minute left, you can see it on the conquest time. You can still jump back in and still do it. So as long as it's within like the timer time, everyone can still join. I think once it goes past the timer time, you can't join. But you can see here, like by the time this is like the 4th Jormungandr fight we're in, and obviously there's been more because we've been playing more in the background. We have like our system down, like everyone shows up on time now. We're back on phase 1, we're learning as a team, right? And this is the special thing about SINoALICE, is that you grow together as a community, you get better together, and that's what makes it special for things like this. I know it's not supposed to be like, this isn't like the most free-to-play thing that I'm doing right here. And notice that also we are all running Snow White, right, which is perfect. You know, like you can see our evolution as a team as we're going through the video. We're like slowly getting better. Like look, library buff is going up now. We pretty much made plant like the last thing we hit. We're aiming for snakes, everything. Well, here we're still like not, we're like, all right, we're gonna hit top and we only focus on top. So like that's the process. And I don't like, the thing is once you start nailing down, like it's sort of like WoW, where you have certain phases, or any MMO where it's like you have certain things you have to do for a particular raid in a certain order, or a particular order so you're successful. You can see their library was Fina. We're pretty much, and now like Elf or the Aaron buff that pretty much mitigates SP. Like everything is perfectly timed. And I know like not everyone has these nightmares available to you, but I'm showing you like as a team, you will, like if you keep trying verse 1 with 5 core people, you will get better at it over time. Like it just becomes smoother and smoother and smoother. Just give it a go. Like I suggest if you can find like 5 dedicated people, you will have a wonderful time with this boss. If you try to solo this, it's very, very difficult. See here, I'm like, that's like the ideal life bar where you should cast Lindwurm or the Nature Wisp that can boost your nature weapons, right? And like this is it. Like Jormungandr is all about timing. It's all about teamwork. I'm sure in future events it'll be like the same concepts, like buff, phase 1, phase 2, everyone show up. By the time we're in phase 3, use a certain skill so we can mitigate SP, and then by the time we hit the last phase of the boss, use some sort of elemental advantage boss so we can burst him down. And you can see here like we like have full HP, and he just got absolutely smashed because we have our system down. And you know, it's great stuff, right? Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Thanks for watching.